You can have $3 million, but your worst enemy gets $10 million. Would you accept it? Why? Why not? Fair enough. Most of it goes straight to our yard and our neighbor's yard, and we just pick it up whatever we see and toss it back in their dumpster when it happens. My neighbors are both home during the day and my so works from home, so usually someone notices before trash has even made it to the side yards. It's a fairly new problem and we're hoping to see who's forgetting so we can have a quick word about it. Working too much and then becoming one with the couch for the rest of the evening. Finding and maintaining a relationship with an arch nemesis would take more energy than I'd care to expend. So for now it's pizza guy and a third-party vendor at work who always says our acceptance criteria are too tight. Maybe the guy who stole our garbage bin a few months ago. I lead an exciting life. HAAA. For me it's the guy who empties the post box at my kid's school. We live rural so it's a one-lane road, but he doesn't wait 5 minutes for us all to leave. He barrels down the narrow road in his big van and never stops or moves over or even acknowledges anyone. He's the worst thing in my life, but if he got 10 mil he wouldn't be picking up the post anymore, so I can drive down that road with my 3 mil and not worry about my car falling in a ditch. Do most people really have meaningful enemies? Like, a person that follows you through life trying to mess you up? I feel like my biggest enemies are usually just obtuse bureaucratic processes at work or in life that are a hassle to go through. There's not really a person I can think of who I'd really consider an enemy. Maybe someone I find generally annoying or don't like being around, but no one where I'd be like upset or even really jealous if they got 10 million bucks. My worst enemy is probably the tiny person who follows me around the house actively destroying things, unfolding laundry, knocking over full glasses, typing randomly on my keyboard when I'm working, trying to smuggle milk and crackers onto the sofa. He's 1 1/2 and calls me mama. Edit. Not that I don't love parenting him or anything, just saying that my toddler is the most destructive force in my life, even if he doesn't mean it. For sure. I'm sure most people, myself included, don't really have a worst enemy, and if you're an adult and you do, then please tell me what that looks like, because that sounds super interesting and I would love to know more. So I'll take my 3 million, and that asshole neighbor of mine who doesn't recycle, has his friends park their cars overnight in front of my place and overwaters his lawn in the summer can have his 10 million and hopefully use it to move to a bigger and better house in a different neighborhood and we both win. We don't have contact at all, but I'd say I have a worst enemy or two. There was a guy I was friends with that tried to force himself on me, then lied about it and started rumors that I was doing meth. So him. Or maybe the other one that was supposed to be my friend but joined up with the first one and the rumors. Knew about everything before making that decision. I was the one who introduced them. They can both fuck off. Men in their 30s doing that shit. It's just beyond me. I share a home with my worst enemy. He's my uncle. We suspect he's an addict and he has mental problems. He's trying to get me, my mom, and his 2 other brothers in jail so he can get the piece of land to himself. We don't have money to move. He claimed my mom and I destroyed his car. He brought people over in the middle of the night when I was alone to cut our fence, and God knows what else had I not called the police. He broke his brother's nose after assaulting him when he was in his car. He is unemployed and lives off his inheritance and spends his day blasting music that's supposed to be insults to us or pretending to be on the phone screaming what he's going to do to us. He also spies on my mom and his other's brother's wife. We live in a developing country, so the police is useless unless it's murder or something like that. So that's what it's like having a worst enemy as an adult. As a depressed person, I can confirm. I had one friend who I treated like family and used me as pretty much an au pair. I didn't care as I loved her kid and treated her as my own. She then proceeded to spread rumors about me being a drug addict and a prostitute. I later found out she had severe mental health issues and was a daily user of amphetamines. She hid it well. I thought she just had anxiety. I was young, she was 10 years older. My kid being 5 at the time, I found that very damaging. I would 100% cut my nose off to spite my face. Definitely, because I learned to forgive the people I considered enemies a long time ago. They were just kids, and kids can be real assholes for no reason. I genuinely wish them the best in life. 10 mil would be a great help to them, and 3 mil would be more than enough to set myself up. We, my old enemies and I, are all living in poverty and shit in our town, and if I could help fix that for even one of my old enemies, I'd do it in a heartbeat. None of us deserve to live how I do. Close. You have to account for inflation. Even with 5 to 7% returns, say for index funds, the recommended safe withdrawal rate is about 3%. So that's a comfy $90K 2021 US dollars a year. I say this not because any of us are going to magically get 3 mil, but because the same applies to retirement money as well. Also, it's a kick in the ass about how expensive a cushy retirement really is. 3 mil is somehow a shitload to have at once, and only a totally reasonable amount to have for the rest of your life. And now I'm scared. This is my thinking. $3 million I can live comfortably, but not really enough for me to consider quitting my job. My worst enemy would probably live it up, thinking I'm a millionaire, and by the end of the first year be broke. Buy the mansion because I've got millions and not think about repairs, upkeep, and taxes. Now you could say, well, real estate is going up. Won't your enemy make money off that mansion? Wouldn't that person make more than $10 million? Maybe. But there is also the real possibility that the mansion wouldn't sell, difference between value and what someone will pay for it, and it would have to be price dropped until someone bought it. So that $5 million mansion is now valued at $7 million and sold for $1.2 million, because not only is no one with $7 million wanting to buy it, but the tax bill is due again. Other assets? Figure in the I have $10 million. Celebration party when the money arrives. The I don't need to cook, I can order DoorDash every night cash, strip club make it rain money, paying off debts, expensive cars, expensive gifts to family and friends like cars and houses, vacations to Europe, soon you realize that there aren't many assets remaining. Especially if that European vacation was 6 months, high-end everything. What about that $1.2 million from the house sale? They blew through $10 million, no way they'll remain a millionaire by the end of the month. And if that is your worst enemy, and they knew you only had $3 million, they'd happily shove that wealth into your face. Here is my $5 million house. It's more money than you have and I still have more money than you. Meaning that when they go flat broke, you get to rub that into their face. Yes. I would accept the $3 million. It's a large amount of money, and would not be concerned with them having more. Average person could set themselves up with $3 million nicely with wise investments, and not spending money like Nick Cage. Many would not though, due to temptation. If you live in the US, most have little savings. Look how people don't even save their tax return. So, maybe $10 million person blows it all on crap, or has someone double-cross them like a spouse or family to get the cash. It certainly happens like this. While I am not sure who my worst enemy is, I can assume they are terrible with money and will be broke in less than 5 years. I mean, you woke up and suddenly there is $10 million without explanation. Some would assume it was a one and done thing, but I really hate people who are stupid, I mean monumentally stupid, and think that they are brilliant. So my worst enemy will get $10 million and think there was more coming and blow it all. Plus, I would know who it was, because they'd brag about that $10 million and I would do what I could to get them to make terrible financial choices. You should totally buy that $1 million house with that elaborate in-ground swimming pool. Later, oh no, you have to sell that house because of the taxes and the expensive upkeep that comes with an elaborate in-ground swimming pool. And you have to sell those Lombos because they are also expensive to maintain and have next to no resale value. You really should figure out what you did to make that $10 million and do it again. What about your GameStop shares? Oh, when you sold them all, you flooded the market with those shares and the price dropped, so now they'll all worthless. I get money, my mother gets more money, she tries to seem generous and gives me and siblings money, likely like only 1,000, and maybe pays for something, like a trip or driving lessons, so she can tell people that she is such a good person. Sounds good to me. She will still not be a good person and only ever talk to me if she needs something or wants to brag about something, completely ignoring anything that might be going on in my life. Example, I got engaged over 2 months ago and she talked to me about things that affected her but not ever mentioned my engagement. Got to love an ARC mom. Unlike most people here, I do have a worst enemy. Well, had, as I cut ties with her years ago. I would still take the money because I don't see her anymore anyway, so it probably won't affect my life that she gets 10 million and I 3 million. It would probably annoy me a little bit that she got more than 3 times what I got, considering how poorly she has treated me and how she has always been in debt, for always buying things she didn't need, and I haven't, but 3 million is 3 million. If I get to choose who I get the 3 million from, part of me wants it to come from her 10 million, as she still owes me for some things she has borrowed indefinitely. TLDR, I would still take the money. I'm not sure if I'd take it. My worst enemy is my biological mother. She's extremely narcissistic, attention-seeking, overbearing, and unapologetic. I worry if she came into ownership with that amount, how it'd affect those around her. It could turn out fine, but there's just such a high chance of her causing major grief, strife, and pain to others when money's no longer an issue for her. Additionally, you know those stories of those that win the lottery and end up worse off due to frivolous spending? I can easily see that happening with her. The news says my worst enemy is somewhere on the other side of the world of me, who is probably a lot angrier at people closer to where they are now. Them having $10 million will hopefully make their lives good enough that they don't care about me anymore, or that they will probably still be consumed by the demons in the local life. So yeah, give me the money. Anyone who wouldn't is an idiot. I don't know who my worst enemy would even be, but I would never forego the chance to get that much money just to spite someone I don't like. If you hate that person so much that you couldn't bear the thought of them getting that much money, just take your $3 million and move somewhere else so you never have to see them again. Once upon a time there was a rich man and a poor man. The rich man lived a dream life, fancy house, nice car, beautiful wife, etc. The poor man lived under a bridge and hated the rich man for all the excesses he personified. One day, the poor man found a lamp washed up on the shore. He rubbed it and your stereotypical genie came out. I will grant you 3 wishes, the genie said, but whatever you ask for, I will give the rich man double. The poor man mulls it over and asks for $10 million. The genie drops a briefcase of cash at his feet, and over in his mansion the rich man suddenly has 2 briefcases with $10 million each. The formerly poor man thinks again and asks for a beautiful and trustworthy companion who is truly compatible with him to share his new wealth with. Suddenly a beautiful woman is standing next to him and they start planning on how to begin their new life. The rich man has 2 supermodels show up at his front door. Things are a bit awkward at first, what with his already existing wife, but they sit down and decide to work things out. Maybe genie magic had something to do with that, I don't know. The genie looks at the formerly poor man and says, you have 1 wish remaining. What do you desire? The man sits on the beach with his new soulmate and looks long and hard at the water, thinking deeply. He then tells the genie, I wish for you to beat me half to death. For starters, my worst enemy was this cokehead who tried to murder me because I stood my ground against him, and I'm pretty sure with 10 million he'd snort that much his heart would give out and he'd die before the age of 20. So his money is more of a curse than a blessing, and then once he's gone I'll swindle the remaining money he has because his family disowned him BC of said coke addiction.